Welcome to a video where I rank all 32 NFL team logos. To be completely clear, we are ranking the logos, not their names, not their jerseys, not their word marks, just the logo. The logos are evaluated based on my subjective view of their aesthetics. However, nested in this evaluation has to be considering how well the logo serves as the symbol for a football team. A successful football team symbol should be a good balance between being easily identifiable, relatable in the sense of compelling people to support the team, and intimidating. And the last thing before we start, this tier list is broken up both into tiers and categories. The tiers are letter graded, of course, but I've also grouped many of the logos in different tiers into different categories. Certain categories tend towards certain tiers, but I should clarify that this is correlational and not necessarily causational. And with that, we're going to get right into the tier, which you'll notice has somewhat of a double inverted pyramid structure. That's because there's a few really bad ones, a few really good ones, and a significant amount of mid-tier ones. Starting from the lowest of the low, we have the Kansas City Chiefs logo, which easily sits in the problematic category. I think what sums up the lazy nature of this team's logo is that, according to the team website, it was first originally a copy of the 49ers logo, and second was originally drawn on a napkin by owner Lamar Hunt. This logo, in my humble opinion, is the worst one, and many have reason to agree. Next, getting into the logos that are bad purely by merit of their appearance and nothing else, we have the Dallas Cowboys logo, alone in the Microsoft Paint category. What we have here is simply a blue star with a white outline and then a repeated blue outline. In many ways, I'm confounded by this logo, because what I assume they're going for is reminiscent of sheriff's badges from the Old West, but these tend to be a different shape entirely. I also feel like there's so many possibilities with a name like the Cowboys, and choosing this symbol really took real creative starvation. Another side effect of this logo is that it isn't always immediately clear what it is when it's not in its entirety, especially against a background of the same shade of blue. Now, hear me out on this. Take this YouTube thumbnail. If you didn't know that the Cowboys logo was a star, and you're only seeing a piece of it with the rest outside the rectangle, you might just see these two white lines of different weights zigzagging across the screen. No logo should have this problem. We kind of could have like a Pac-Man situation going on, maybe a shark, maybe a mountain sticking out of the slope of another mountain. There's so many possibilities here. It's not obvious what it is. You can now ascend from the extreme lows of NFL logos to just the regular lows. This also gives us a glimpse at a correlation, at least for me, between simple letter logos with no real illustration or symbology involved and low tiering. The worst offenders are the Packers, Bears, and 49ers logos. Something common to all three is that they all have resemblances to other logos in sports. The Packers logo very closely resembles the Georgia Tech logo. Haha, gotcha! You thought I mixed them up. Yeah, it's the University of Georgia logo. The Bears logo looks very similar to the Cincinnati Reds logo. Finally, as previously mentioned, the Chiefs logo matches the interlocking letter style of the 49ers logo. I don't particularly care to resolve which of these was the original instance of which or who copied who. Some may argue that the reuse of a logo could be significant of its quality, but I'd argue a different direction. I would argue that an NFL team logo should be unique and iconic enough to stand alone and immediately be recognizable as an NFL franchise. Any genericness of a logo to the sports world at large should be avoided. This brings us to the best of the failing grade logos. First, I'll address the minimalist category Indianapolis Colts logo. It's similar to the Cowboys logo, but the horseshoe is at least an upgrade beyond the realm of basic geometric shapes. Regardless, it's just too simplistic to pass as an NFL logo, and its exceptionally bland version of blue and white color scheme does not do it any favors either. The last of the failing grade NFL logos fit into a tried to do something different but bad category. All of these, by merit of being different, have something to be said about them for better or worse. The Las Vegas Raiders logo really doesn't do it for me. It's got the shield shape, and I like the swords, but the mixture of pirate and old-timey football player just looks stupid to me. I could see a universe where this would be pretty good if they updated the helmet to their contemporary look, but keeping to this old-timey helmet with the eye patch wearing, somewhat smirking pirate, it just really doesn't add up. Next up, we have the New York Jets logo. This is somewhat in the same spirit of the 49ers logo, but I think it improves upon it in a few ways. First, this is just a good font. You could probably type anything in this font and football fans would recognize it as the Jets font. I also like that they at least made the oval around it football shaped. It feeds you subconscious context, while the actual literal football at the bottom feeds you the conscious context. The thing is, this logo is so much wasted effort. They really honed this font and color scheme and shape, but for so little substance, which is particularly a shame because they're called the Jets. There's so much cool stuff that you could do with that. Even the ESPN Fantasy default graphics had a better take on this logo. Next up, we have the notorious Cleveland Browns logo. There's a lot working against them here. The whole name and mascot situation is silly, so it's hard to figure out something to right the ship. They went with the truly laughable option of just using the non-Brown team helmet. This wrong is worsened by the fact that I think the Cleveland Browns helmet itself is really cool. It's a shame it has to be associated with a ridiculous logo. This is one instance where it might have been worth attempting a simple letter logo. The last failing grade NFL logo is the Pittsburgh Steelers. In doing this, it's hard to separate the evaluation of the logo from the franchise as a whole. Obviously, the Steelers are one of the more iconic franchises in the NFL, and this logo has been in the middle of the field and on the single side of their helmets that entire time. It, of course, has an interesting history and relevance to the steel industry. All this is, and I really mean it, good and interesting. But is it a good logo for a football team? I don't think so. 3 diamond shapes don't exactly evoke either of the sport of football nor intimidation in an opponent. Its sleek aesthetic probably works well as an organizational logo in the steel industry, but I'd still maintain that the logo just doesn't work in the sports world. From here, we make our way into the logos who receive a passing grade. We begin with the category of good letter logos, which I consider to include the New York Giants, Washington Commanders, and Cincinnati Bengals. Though I'm partial against solely letter designs due to them inherently lacking symbolism beyond the letters, each of these have a good color scheme and something aesthetically interesting. The decision of the Giants to go with lowercase letters, with the Y also serving as an underline, works really well. The Commanders took W, a symmetrical letter, and gave it balanced serifs that evoke movement. The way the segments of this W are cut also somewhat reminds me of a row of tents, much like that could be found for a Civil War army led by actual commanders, their historical counterparts. Finally, the Bengals logo is striped like a tiger. Simple and effective. Our mid-tier logos from here continue in the category of minimalism. The Los Angeles Chargers, aka the Bolts, have a logo that is the reason for this nickname. This logo plays it safe, but has the crucial feature of being arc-shaped. An obvious decision would be to just make it a conventional straight lightning bolt shape, see the Tampa Bay Lightning of the NHL. The arc, however, provides the benefits of fitting onto the helmet better, as well as just adding a different dimension to a familiar shape. It also benefits from the powder blue and yellow color scheme, one of the best in the league. Next, we consider the Houston Texans logo. It interestingly combines the head of a bull with the Texas flag, an apt combination, but there isn't much more to say about it. It works, but not exceedingly well. And wrapping up the D tier, we have the New Orleans Saints. The logo is the fleur-de-lis, long a symbol of France and French-speaking people, many of which call Louisiana and the Mississippi Delta home. Like the Steelers logo, it has that interesting background and history, but what puts it a tier above is that it's my tier list and I like it more. Nonetheless, it's not exactly unique or groundbreaking or even that football-oriented, but in the world of football, you know who it is. From here, we cross into good territory, the logos that begin to strike the balance between the desirable traits that I had outlined in the introduction. The first is the Arizona Cardinals. It's hard to make a cardinal intimidating, but they come somewhat close with this one. Its diagonal orientation is even reminiscent of how linemen appear, heads down, hands planted, right before a play. On some helmets, the cardinal red is even given a shiny red luster, making it stand out even more. A very passable logo. The Miami Dolphins logo has improved significantly from its previous iterations. Some people have a nostalgic affinity for the cartoonish dolphin wearing the old football helmet awkwardly over his head area, I mean, if a dolphin is butting heads somehow, I don't think it would make contact with the position of this helmet. It can't be very effective. What was I talking about again? Oh, yeah. The new dolphin logo is sleek, has a cool sun design in the background, has a good color scheme, and doesn't look ridiculous. Passable. Just like how Tua looks like a passable quarterback because he has two elite receivers. The Philadelphia Eagles logo is a very good illustration of an eagle head. It puts a lot of emotion into the eagle's face, particularly its eyes and brows, that make it look fierce and capable. If I had criticisms, I think the colors are a bit muted, and they probably should have fit more of the eagle's body into the image, but the logo still works. Also, did you know that of all the logos that are directed toward one side or another, the Eagles logo is the only one that looks left? Yeah. Bonus points. The Carolina Panthers logo is effective in a few ways. First, they made its neck and chest very broad, making it look like an absolutely ripped panther. Additionally, I think it was the right decision not to give it pupils, as having the pupils probably would have made it a bit more kitty cat than big cat. The color scheme does hold it back, though. The Baltimore Ravens logo, were it just the raven head, would not be great. Working together the unique bee insignia into its feathers, however, does make it a bit more interesting. From here we get to the last of the minimalism category, the Los Angeles Rams. My affinity for this logo is apparently a hot take. I think this logo was an effective update to go along with the move to the new city, and I wish other teams had done the same. The old logo was just too cartoony and stiff. This new logo made the colors bolder and carries a techie, modern aesthetic that matches the La La Land SoFi Stadium setting that backdrops the entire team rebranding. I think this logo is clever enough. We upgrade now to the B tier, which carries a category, Good Non-Animals. Here we find the New England Patriots. Cards on the table, this is my team. Going into making this video, I had already consciously considered that I can't be biased by the team, and that my own authentic views of the Patriots logo alone were generally negative. However, really comparing it against the logos we've seen so far, I realized that it's actually above average. The Patriot is clearly there. His face and tricorn hat are prominent features, with the flag stripes flowing from the back to convey motion. Even though it's dated, however, I'd still argue the original logo is better, but this one still serves its purpose. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers logo does what I wish the Raiders logo did. It depicts an interesting combination of a pirate banner flying from a cutlass. The skull and crossed swords on the flag are classic swashbuckling, but the remarkable part of this is that a football has a central place on the banner, but somehow doesn't feel out of place. Whatever the factor or cause, the Buccaneers logo is an effective, non-obvious approach where more obvious approaches, like a pirate ship, a treasure chest, or something else, probably wouldn't pan out. Finishing off the B tier, we have the Minnesota Vikings. There is so much character to this thing. The Viking has some luscious golden locks, a braid, a hulking mustache, elite facial structure, and a horned helmet. He's also always appeared to me as being hunched over, all business, positively sniffing the fear in his enemies. This logo is excellent. However, we still find ourselves with even better logos, the A tier, featuring the category Good Animals. The Denver Broncos are a prime example of one of these. Like the Panthers logo, this horse has a thick, muscular neck. He looks like he could just absolutely book it across the prairie. Additionally, his orange mane is tossed in the wind behind him, almost looking like flames, like he's Ghost Rider or something. Also, his eye and brow just make him look unbreakable. The Atlanta Falcons have an elite logo as well. First off, it's positioned to make an F, like the first letter of Falcon. Brilliant. It has an excellent color combination that is put together super well into this logo, with the streaks of red almost making the black feathers look like they're shining. My only gripe is that this bird is colored black enough that I've always thought it was more raven-like than even the Ravens logo. I don't think Falcons tend to be black like this. Wrapping up our A tier, we have the Detroit Lions logo. Had this tier list been made before 2009, the Detroit Lions logo would have been way further in the dumps, but I think they perfectly sprinkled in detail to make this lion look fierce and healthy, with his mane and face way more visible. Compare this to the old logo. This lion is just objectively drawn worse. Its mane is too zigzaggy, and when I was younger, I thought the hole between its chin and its leg was actually its eye, so I thought this was one of the jankiest looking lions possible. The modern, revamped logo Makes it not only recognizable as a lion, but an impressive one. This brings us to the S tiers, and I'm going to go ahead and rank this top 3. The Jacksonville Jaguars have a fantastic logo. This color scheme is one of my favorites in the league, and I like the subtle details of the Jaguar having its tongue, nose, and eyes all this teal color. The teeth on this thing look quite sharp. This guy just looks sleek and scary. In second place, we have a truly excellent logo, the Buffalo Bills. This thing is brilliant. They could have so easily just used the outline of a buffalo and called it a day. But someone brilliant adding this diagonal red stripe, it makes this bison really look like it's charging, like it's jumping up and about to smack the shit out of something. That's what football's all about, isn't it? And now, this brings us to my crowning NFL logo, none other than the Seattle Seahawks. I take it that this may be a hot take. The colors, while interesting, aren't necessarily anything to write home about. At face value, it might not even be the best looking design. Nonetheless, this logo really sets itself apart. This logo could have easily fallen into mediocrity if it was just a regular drawing of a bird's head in the style of an Eagles or Ravens logo. But instead, they opted for this unique style rooted in their community. I find it fascinating and beautiful, and a great symbol for a city and its football team. And that wraps up the tier list. Disagree with me? Agree with me? Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell. Catch you next time.